So STLC, as I said, it's a number of activities, different activities that's followed by the tester to ensure the test coverage for your system and to deliver a better quality product. So STLC has the following different phase. There's a number of phase, that's involved, and each and every phase the tester performs some activities. Okay, so here is a number of, but it's not mandatory all of the phase all the company they follow, but this is very generic. So whatever the model they follow, whether it's B model, waterfall, or agile, these are the main testing life cycle, the phase, the different phase. And as I said, it's every phase there will be some activities. Let's go through all of them, but it could be a little bit change, or could be some of the company they can I will explain the what part the company they can avoid, but mostly the main the phase in software testing lifecycle, it's started over here. Requirement analysis. This is the first phase. Then it's a testing planning. Then it's a test case design, or test designing phase. Then test environment setup. Then test execution. And after that there is a defect reporting and tracking, and then the last is test closure phase. Okay, so let's go break down each and every phase. What's the input, what kind of action or activities tester usually do, whose responsibilities what in testing team. Because the testing team, there is a QA, there is a QC, there is a team lead, could be the test manager. Okay, so it's a different, there is a number of people in testing team, so they have some responsibilities in each and every phase. And what's the final outcome for this specific phase, what's the goal we're going to achieve. So number one, as I said, is a requirement analysis. So input is FRS, which is it's a requirement specification. There's a CRS, is customer requirement specification. In nowadays in Agile it's called epic or story. Those are all requirement, some document. Those are the input in requirement analysis, and in those input or those requirement or those document, there was just using those document, the tester team, they will do some activities. What's the activities? They will analyze the requirement in details. They'll identify type of testing to be performed, like what type of test there was. So first they will analyze the requirement. So like epic or story or functional requirement, they will go through the requirement. They will try to understand the technical requirement, the use case of requirement, the acceptance criteria. They will try their best to understand the requirement. And if they need remember this walkthrough, if they have some unclear requirement or acceptance criteria, they will ask the product owner or the product manager. So okay, can you walk through me about this requirement? I'm not clear about the acceptance criteria. Because this is the first things we have to understand, the requirement, right? So this is the requirement analysis that happen over here. And after that, they, based on their understanding the requirement, they identify type of testing to be performed. What type of testing we're going to perform? Like, is that a functional test, non-functional test, performance test, is that a manual test? And also if there is a automation is possible, they also make a decision over here. Are we going to do how many tests we're going to, is that possible to do automate or not? Okay, or we're going to do everything manual. So during this phase they also do all this kind of activities. And the responsibilities, the team lead or test lead, they will do 60%, because here is a over here there is a like decision making one things, like whether is automation would be done or not. And the requirement, the team lead, they have to know the very well, the team lead, even though the tester, they have to understand the requirement also. That's why the test engineer, their part is 40%. But over here some decision making things happen, identifying the type of testing like we're going to perform. Okay, so this is comes from the team lead managers. team lead. So that's why it's a team lead. It's their their responsibility 60%, and engineering they're responsible 40% in regards to understanding a requirement very details and clear, because based on that, QA or test engineer, they are writing the test cases, they will execute, so they have to understand the requirement very well. So what's the outcome or achievement? It's like complete requirement, or DOR. DOR nowadays in Agile they use definition of ready. Definition of ready, it means your requirement is very clear and acceptance criteria is very clear and understandable. So we have to confirm that we are very clear for the requirement. So this is the outcome or achievement. And automation feasibility report if it's required. If the automation is possible, so it will be also confirmed over here. That's the outcome. Next phase for STLC, it's a test planning. So in test planning, it's nothing. It's a larger document. Usually they do in document like probably Word, or nowadays there's a tools in Jira. They have a tools like Confluence, and the part of in Confluence you can create your test plan up there. So it is a documentation. So it give you overall 3 answer: what to test, how to test, when to test. So it give you the 3 answers. What to test, it means what function we're going to test, that you have to know. That's why you have to understand first requirement, then you will narrow down, okay, what functions we're going to test. Then how to test, how we're going to test. Is that going to be automated? Is that going to be manual? Okay, is that is that a functional testing or non-functional testing? And when to test, when we're going to schedule, when we need to start, there's a deadline, and then when we have to deliver, when we have to complete, so those are all those things mentioned underneath the test plan document. What's the input? Definitely your project plan, your functional requirement is the input in test plan, because so without the requirement you can't do the test plan. The requirement will tell you not only the the user acceptation, but also your project will tell you also some deadline about your project, when need to start, when need to deliver, all those things, when you are committed to finish or testing, all those things. So those are the input for creating your test plan. Activities is from the testing team to create the test plan. Identify the resource. You have to make sure that you have all the resource. It means all the document like functional project, all those documents you have available. Team format, who's working in manual testing, who's working on the automation testing, or you have available resource. Test estimation, how long the test will need, and based on that what will be the expense, because every hour it's cost money, right? So how many business days we need to perform for this coverage, for all this the test coverage. So based on that what would be the expense. So it is, and then preparation for test plan, all the requirements again, and then review of the test plan. After you complete the test plan, there will be someone who will have to review it, and then test plan sign off. Also it's part of the management, like test manager, usually they sign off, he confirm that okay, this test plan looks good to me, you can follow it moving forward. So here are the responsibilities: team lead and test manager, because mostly over here it's management work, like sign off, review, preparation, decision, like who's working on manual, who's working on automation, all those things. So that's why the team lead is the 70% responsibilities for these activities, and test manager is 30%. Specifically over here, review and sign off is done by the test manager. And then outcome is a test plan document. So your complete test plan document will be done following this test planning phase, during the test planning phase. Next, test design. Test design, it again over here your input would be your project plan, your functional requirements. So requirement is the source of one of the main source of your test design, because without it requirement you can't do the test design. Where your activities would be preparation of test scenarios. As I said, during the test design, you are going to break down the scenarios. Like think about the login function, right? your scenario is like positive scenario, negative scenario. Your positive and negative scenario will be based on the requirement, because if you know the requirement very well, then you can divide it as positive and negative scenarios. So your scenarios, it's breaking down the scenarios, it's happening test design. Okay, and also over here what happened, preparation of test cases, and break down the test scenarios. You are going to use your test, you create your test cases, and then there will be review. Your test cases have to review, and there is a one important thing that happen, the activities in test design is called traceability matrix. It's a traceability matrix. It's nothing, it's another document, you can say in an Excel format. Nowadays is the tools, the test management tools we use, it comes to the traceability matrix function. What it does, it is like an Excel sheet where it help you to map the between the requirement and the test cases, like what's the number of requirement you have, and you have the test coverage, parallel test coverage, mapping the test coverage. So it's give you the clear list. Okay, here is a logging function, here is a number of test cases, number of test cases 1 2 3 4, here is the number of test cases. So it give you the direct, so you can share this traceability matrix with your client, with your upper management, so that they don't have to go to your test management tool and break down where all the test cases do have the coverage or not. The traceability matrix is one of the very important document, whether for your upper management or for the end client, that give them satisfaction that okay, I have the good coverage test cases according to my requirements. So it is the map between the requirement and test coverage. Okay, previously we used to make the traceability matrix using Excel sheet. Now all the test management tools comes with a default feature, it's called traceability matrix, you can use. Okay, so in this testing designs, because over here we already know our scenarios, we already know our test cases, so right away we can create our traceability matrix, and at the end there will be also test case sign off from the team lead. Team lead will confirm okay, the test cases, test scenarios you have breakdown, it is right. Okay, and here and also one thing is for the test designing, and also there is a couple of more input is like test plan, and definitely as per the test plan you are going to design your test cases. So design documents is also one of the input over here. Design documents, it means remember there's a low level design in one of the phase of development happen, which is the like UX design. So those design, UX design, it means like the UX developer, they will make some mock design levels, like they will make some your as part of the application, how should looks like a login function page, where should be the button, what should output when you click the button, all those things. They create a UX design following different tools in the market, like Figma is one of the tools in the market, very famous UX design they use. So they will share beside your requirement, beside your functional requirement, like document in the UX design, a document, it will give you the more clear view about your requirement or acceptance criteria. So those are the input use in test designing phase. So what's the responsibilities over here? Responsible for the testing team or team lead is 30%. Over here test engineer is 70%, because over here we're going to break down create the scenarios, and then based on the scenarios we're going to prepare the test cases. So those are the pure activities of the test engineers, and it's a lot of works over here. And other than also the creating the traceability matrix, the review part, sign up part is from the team lead or test lead. So that's why it's a little work. It's a 30% of the team lead's responsibilities. And what's the output, final outcome from this phase test design is traceability matrix. It's one of the achievement, and also writing your test case document. You have been able to break down your scenarios and write the test cases. That's the output. Now when your test case is done, next phase is test environment setup. Test environment, because before you execute test cases, you have to ensure you have the right environment with the right build. So what's the input over here? Understanding the requirement architecture, like for your to ensure that you have the right test environment. Most of the company, they have the separate testing environment, or is called test staging environment or QA environment. Okay, and QA environment is always gets updated with the latest build. When the developer work on the new new changes, or even it's a fix any bug, they update the dev environment. Besides, they have to confirm that your test environment is also up to date. So understanding the required architecture, the technical architecture, is the input. Over here, the activities for the test environment setup is prepare hardware and software list. It's for the test environment, you need the right number of hardware. Like if there's a mobile automation or mobile testing, you need the right number of mobile devices, or different tabs, and also for the different operating systems, you need virtual machine or whatever so it's a list of hardware. And also you need the software list, is like latest build. You confirm that on your you have that latest build is done by the developer and it's available, so that you can test on your environment, right? Setup test environment and test data. Also the testing data is also have to make sure during that test environment. So what combination, what number of test data you need for testing whether it's new features or fixing a bug. Okay, you have to ensure during that time. And perform smoke test on the new build. So when a new build is it's giving you like exe format, usually like its new build is nothing like whatever the new change, they inject the developer on their application, and then they will give you executable file. You will download that executable file, and it has the latest code. And on that code, if you have a smoke test, that's why smoke test is very important, right? A smoke test that you can perform your smoke test just to have a very high level idea the application is working fine, it's not breaking, before you deep dive details testing, more functional testing or release testing on that environment. Okay, so that's the activities usually it does. But here is a one thing is like test environment setup is not fixed, like activity is not fixed, like this is the fully responsibilities by the the QA team. Sometimes like a developer, it depends on the company. Sometimes with the company, they have the DevOps engineer, they ensure the test environment it's up to date with the latest code. Or the developer, even say you have a 3 different developer, they are working in 3 different features, and for 3 different features, what they do, they create, after they develop, they also create a testing environment, or it's called preview environment. Okay, preview environment, so it means each and every developer, whatever the features they are working for, that is specific features, they will create, every developer or every individual developer, they will create a preview environment, and they will share the link with you, so that you can only test that specific features for that specific on that specific environment, and it will be disappear. They will kill that environment after the testing is done. So sometimes some company, they do this kind of pattern. So developer will create that time the preview or testing environment for you, which is temporary, but this is the one of the fixed testing environment, like a staging environment, like you will perform like release testing or even functional testing. It depends on company. So it's not means like the tester will build the environment, but it's their responsibility at least to ensure the environment is up to date, the new build already deployed to this environment, whether through the developer or through the DevOps engineer. Okay, but rest of the things, they have to like test data. This is a pure responsibility by the tester, and also performing a smoke test. Okay, so here the team lead responsibility is 70% and test engineer is 30%, because team lead will ensure will communicate all the communication with the developer or the DevOps engineer to ensure the test environment it's up to date, and the test engineer will perform the smoke test, also ensure the test data also is responsible by the team lead. Also it's both team lead and engineer. And what's the output? Output is environment, is your test environment is ready and up to date. And a smoke test, you will find some smoke test result. That's the output, through this phase. And a smoke test, if it is smoke test it's all pass, it means your environment is good. You can do more or further, or you can deep dive more testing on there. If it's a fail, then you don't have to waste your time. You can work on this. Okay, specific that those failed. Next phase is test execution. So after your test environment is ready, now it's time to execute all the test cases you have been created, you have been written. So your input would be for this phase, the input would be functional requirement. Definitely your requirement, you have to make sure you have the requirement before and based on requirement you have created test design, you have break down the scenarios and have been written the test cases. So test plan is one of them. Your input. Test cases is your input, because you are going to execute test cases. Without test cases you can't execute it, right? And test environment with the latest build. So those are your input for test execution, or prerequisite you can say. The activities, what's the activities? Execute the test cases. That's the pure activities during the test execution. Prepare for test report or test log. If you find any bug, you will file the bug. Okay, that's the that's you can say it's a test log or test report. So test report would be like after you finish, there will be number of bugs if you find. So identifying bug and report those, it's your test, it's activities. And here is a team lead job is very less. It's a 10%, mostly is test engineer, because they are the main person who write the test cases, execute, file the bug, and track the bug and identify bug, all those things. And the main output from this phase is status or test report. The test report, where it will tell you like the number of test cases you executed, number of test cases was passed, number of test cases was failed. So pass rate, fail rate, execution rate, everything will be over here through the status report, right, or test report. Then the next phase is after your execution. Definitely if you find some bug, the bug defect reporting and tracking is your next phase. Over here your input would be your test cases and this test report, because in test report you will say not only your pass rate, fail rate, but also you will say your your bug also. Like fail rate is a part of that. It's a defect, right? So defect comes through the fail rate. So and main activities over here, prepare. So whatever the defect you found, you are going to prepare the defect report. You will combine all of them, make a report. Okay, I found 5 bugs. Okay, here is all the list of the bugs. So this is the report of the the defects. And then after you file a bug, you will assign that bug, whether it's a developer, specific developer, individual developer who is was working on that specific features, or the product owner or product manager. You will talk to the product owner, and then as per his concern, whether you will assign that bug directly to the developer if needs to fix now, or it will go back to the backlog, and that the product owner will make a plan on later on, or for upcoming session, upcoming sprint. Okay, so this is the defect. So as per the product owner's concern, you will whether assign that bug or not to the developer. And then here again, test leads activities very less, it's only 10%. Mostly it's all the activities done by the test engineer, which is the 90%. And by the defect reporting over here, by doing this, our main achievement would be defect report, where we'll tell you all the defect you found, number of defect, the defect list, the link of all of the defect you have filed, and also you can track. In this phase you can say defect reporting and tracking also. So tracking should be part of over here too, because when you file a defect, you own the defect. It means you track it when it gets resolved, and after it's resolved you have to retest. Remember we talk about the retest, so it's retest should be part of over here too. Okay, so this phase is complete, would be defect reporting and tracking. That's what my understanding. And then last part, after defect is done, in the last part with test closure. or sign off. Here your input would be defect report. Whatever the your defect number defect you found, this would be your input. And then test report, also the test report like pass rate, fail rate. Test report shows your pass rate, fail rate, and defect report shows you all the defects, number of defect you found, and you filed, all those things. So this two report is the part of in input was work as an input for the test closer. Here we work, what's the activities analyzing all the both reports. Okay, so like defect reports and test report, analyze the bug reports and evaluate exit criteria. There is a, before you finish your project, as per testing, there is a exit criteria. You can say your testing is done. When you can say your testing is done, after you definitely complete your test execution, you find the different type of report, that time you can say your testing is done. But what's how you can say your testing is done is that a cover was 100% coverage. So there will be some criteria to ensure you can confirm our testing is done. Like your pass rate could be you execute 100% test cases. So that's one of the exit criteria. And then that could be it depends on your company's standard, but on an average the exit criteria for a test project, testing a project, it's like try to execute 100% test cases. Could be some exceptions. Sometimes there is some test cases could be blocked for dependency. Those are other different consideration, but usually it's 100% execution. Pass rate, you can say so probably at least 90%. If the product is below 90%, you cannot say the product is good. So it needs more testing. If whatever the bugs you found, if the bug is you get a lot of critical bugs or even one critical bugs, that time you have to make sure that bugs is fixed. Until it's fixed, it means until you retest it, your testing shouldn't be closed. So following this some exit criteria, the test manager will sign off this test project. Testing, okay, for this project or for this release the testing is done. So the sign off is one of the big part over here as an activities for the test closer. And here test lead or manager, well, the responsibility 70%, and test engineer is 30%, because mostly over here analyzing the bug or report, different type of report is found by the test engineer, and they will sign off. They will, based on their sign off, their confirmation, there will be release goes to the production or it will be hand over to the end client. And what's the outcome of that the test closer? By the test closer there will be complete test summary report. It will be combination of two report, your defect report, your test report. And over here in test summary report will tell you exactly the similar things like a pass rate, fail rate, and a fixing rate. There will be some fixing rate over here too, your bug rate, or the list of the bug, and also the fixing the bug. It will also mention over here, and it will tell you at the end, okay, it can go or no go. Okay, so this is the complete test summary report which comes through the test closer phase.